Hey Tay here. Over the past few months, I've gotten a lot of questions about how I customized my menus. And while I'm not going to go deep into all of the specifics today, because I'll be honest, it was pretty much a year of trial and error, crash and burn, try again, scream into a pillow, etc. I am going to show you my tried and true method to customizing menus. First off, let's talk menus. There are so many menus in an RPG. When RPG Maker devs hear menu, they usually think of the main menu, aka scene_menu. But don't sleep on the others. In my game, I have a number of plugins that change up my menus. Some of them I've made from scratch, but others are ones that I just found on the Google and made simple edits to. That'll bring us right into tip number 1, the simplest tip. Just use a plugin you like. This is the easiest way to make your menus look less default. Some plugins come with built-in parameters you can change to affect the look of the menu. In MV, Mug Hunter's menu plugins are my favorite for this. But there are other menu plugins that are just plug and play too. There are lots, and I mean lots, of menu plugins and scripts for the various RPG makers. But since this is my demonstration, I'm going to use Mug Hunter's main menu plugin, because it's my favorite. This is actually the plugin that I use for my menu in my own game. Mug Hunter plugins for MV are all in this big demo file, so we'll download it and pick through the plugins folder to get what we want. I'm going to take the Mog Menu Background, Mog Menu Particles, and Mog Scene Menu plugins. Install them in the plugin manager in this order, or they won't work right. I'm also going to go to the Images folder and steal the Menus folder and put it in our game's Images folder too. We don't actually need this whole folder, just the faces, main, and this little particles.png. And now we can open the menu and, yep, already looks pretty cool. I kind of hate the sheer amount of movement there is. It looks busy and a little tacky. So that brings us to tip number 2. Which is definitely my most used method, and in my opinion, the most useful and viable method that you can possibly do to change up your menus. So I'm going to go through the whole process. Find a plugin you mostly like, and change what you don't. You're never going to find a perfect plugin, or if you do, you're very, very lucky. But most likely what's going to happen is you will look around, you'll find a plugin that's almost what you need. Like it has the functionality you need, it has some things you like about it, and then it has some other things you don't like. So when you run into that situation, check the plugin's terms of use, and if they allow changing the plugin for personal use, oh my gosh, change it! People are so scared of touching code, but honestly, what's the worst that can happen? You break it? Okay. Keep a backup of the original untouched plugin and revert to that when you eventually break everything. It's no big deal. First things first, there should be some things I can change just in the parameters without messing with the code. I'm going to get rid of that ugly magic circle. And that's already a little better, but it's kind of redundant to me to show the name of the command on the command images, and also in text form on the top left of the screen. I could turn the text off, but I think I'll leave it, and I'm just going to change out the images of the commands to be purely icon-based with no words. In fact, I'm going to change out every image associated with this plugin. Finally, there's that weird breathing, pulsing thing that the selected command is doing. That's super annoying, and we can totally get rid of that. Speaking of the command icons, I also don't think I want them off-kilter like that either. I'll put them all in a straight row. Just a tangent, by the way, but if you're having trouble figuring out exactly what you want your menus to look like, I really enjoy this website, GameUI.net, for inspiration. It's a Japanese website and I can't read any of that stuff, but there are some excellent examples of making things like colors and elements work together. Just, pretty pictures. But okay, let's make some of our changes. I changed up just a tiny bit of code, and it got rid of that offset and the pulsing zoom in and out. So let's start replacing images. Since this is for the sake of a video, I'm going to go with a really simple design, so it won't take a lot of time. Let's zoom through replacing every image. And then we're left with something like this. Super different and way better than what we started with. You can do all sorts of things by just modifying existing menu plugins and using them in creative ways. Actually, I have something that I'm going to show off, and I kind of don't want to show it off because it's for an unfinished project that I spent the week of Valentine's Day working on, and I'm a little bit embarrassed of it, but I did finish the menus, mostly, at least. I'll go back and finish the whole game next Valentine's Day. So let's take a quick peek at my unfinished Valentine's horror dating sim. As you can see here, I have completely changed up a lot of the menus. And other than just one single little menu, I didn't write any of these plugins. These are all just plugins that I put together. And then I changed out the images on them. Which, by the way, if you ever have a menu that you like the layout of, but you kind of really don't like the design of, I have 2 plugins that are lifesavers. One is Mr. T's scene background images or whatever. And the other is Nasty Replace Windows with Images, or Replace Window with Picture or something. I'll have them linked. My favorite thing to do is replace a window with a 1 pixel by 1 pixel blank image, and then set everything visual up in the background. Or actually replace the window with a proper image and then set up tweening. But tweening's kind of annoying to get working. By the way, if you want to know what tweening is, it's just this. You see how the different windows kind of slide in? Really cool. I don't have it working on most of my menus, but I got it to work on the item menu. So let's do one more demonstration. For the moment, say we're making a horror game with one main character. Think, Ebe, Madfather, classic RPG Maker horror games. For this example, we're going to use Annabelle, a character from my game, because she's a creepy little girl, so she's our main character. And what if we did our HP, so to speak, as a series of states instead? Like life 1, life 2, etc. Little hearts, basically. And then when you lose all your states, you totally die. No combat or anything in this hypothetical game. We are solving puzzles and getting jump scared. My first thought was to make a very simple evented choices menu that could take you to the item menu, a custom status menu for Actor 1, the main character, and then exit to title. I set that up by disallowing access to the menu and then setting up a couple of common events that choose what happens whenever you press the escape button, basically. Here's a look at those common events. We get to our item status and then exit thing through script calls. We want the item menu to have that horror game vibe, so I searched around on Google and found a very simple code that only shows key items and is exactly what we need. Shout out to King Gerard for the code. I wrote a super simple little code off camera because I'm not a very good coder, and coding for me is try something, fail, try something, fail, try something, fail. Oh no, I have a typo, try something again, fail. I got it working eventually. But all it does is it shows a background and it draws the icons for any states that we have. Basically all the menu-y lookingness about it is just that background image that I made really quick. Now, if we get hit by this slime, pretend it's like a horror monster. We lose a life, and that's reflected in our status menu. But honestly, now that it's all made, I'm kind of thinking it would look a lot better as one single menu. So instead of doing our evented choices menu, let's combine King Gerard's item menu with our status menu instead. We'll just forego the exit to title option. I brought over the background and also the state icon stuff from my status menu, and then changed up the common event that gets called when we press the cancel button. Oh, we should probably hide the item quantities too, since this is a horror game. I have no idea how to code that myself. So let's grab another plugin. Oh heck yeah, it's Mr. Trivel. He's one of my favorite plugin makers. And yeah, more polished, really nice. I'm totally happy with this for our horror game that doesn't exist. Honestly, all this comes down to is mixing and matching in creative ways. You notice we played around with plugins, but also did some evented stuff too. And I'll be honest, art and graphic design do kind of matter here. If you're not an artist yourself, go to places like the UI website that I showed you earlier for inspiration. Don't copy, but pull ideas from the things you like. I also super recommend color palette websites like this one. Coolers. And most importantly, this takes time. I did some very simple menu changes today and wasn't really worried about making them look good, and it still took me hours. My own menus came about over the course of actual months. So don't rush it. Ooh, and most importantly, make sure that you're only adding what you need in your menus. There's nothing more annoying than messing around with something for days only to find out you don't need it. But anyway, I hope you learned something from these little tips. There are certainly other ways to make menus in RPG Maker, but this is just my method. And you guys asked me how I do it, so here you go. If you liked this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, or whatever, for more RPG Maker content? More video game content? I don't know. I have my itch.io for my game and my Ko-Fi linked in my description below, as well as those 2 plugins that I mentioned earlier. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this method of customizing your menus. Would you rather just create everything from scratch? Do you not want to mix and match plugins like that? Are you worried about plugin compatibility? Because that is a problem. Sometimes you can get stuff that you really like, and then you add a new plugin and it totally breaks everything. And then you have to work on making the 2 plugins compatible, and sometimes they're just not. You try everything, but they're both messing with a key functionality. It doesn't work. And then you have to move on and admit defeat. Anyway, I should stop talking. This is the end of the video. Okay, bye!